And welcome everyone to a brand new episode of Adventures in Reality with my intrepid co-host Veronica King. Welcome back to the show, Veronica.
Wonderful to be with you again, Andrew.
It's wonderful to be with you. And this is, I believe, episode 8 that we are at right now. We have had incredible conversations
I know.
the last series. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on in our common history right now. So let's talk about what's going on with Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. They're trying to put us back into a war mode. Prime Minister David Cameron is saying that he wants to invest troops back into the war to take care of ISIS. The same thing is going on here with America. They're trying to get us back into this war bird, this war hawk concept. Let's talk about this minute.
But ISIS was created by the UK and the US.
Totally. It was the same concept that was brought in that took down Libya, same one that took down Egypt,
Yeah.
the same thing that the American senators were visiting when they were trying to take care of Syria early last year. It was all of the money that is ours that funded them. And when they left Syria and they went into Iraq, the American contractors or mercenaries who had Humvees, tanks, helicopters, big guns, they all left their posts because they realized what was coming. And they took over all of their equipment, 1,500 Humvees and armored personnel carriers. And now that's what America is in Britain are going to go back in to bomb, their own equipment.
It's crazy. People have to wake up and look at what's happening. Look with eyes wide open. Do not believe what your politicians are telling you or what you're reading in the newspapers or on television. The truth is there, and you owe it to yourselves and those you're responsible for to find the truth and deal with it.
That's right, because if you don't find the truth and deal with it at your own personal level, the truth will continue to go on to be false truth.
That's right. Oh my God, the war, and it'll be killing every day. They glorify war. Look at your televisions, all the war films, all the memories of World War I, World War II. They're feeding people war. And it's wrong. It's very wrong. Killing does not come naturally to the human race. And it's about time they reacted to it and refused to do it.
Exactly. Refuse to do it in such a way that we can turn away from the tools of war, guns and swords and knives and hammers and bombs, and go to the pen, and go to paperwork, and go to write your philosophy, your history, your thoughts, your wisdom, your world down, so that we can use paper to change this world.
Yes.
Paper is what got us into it, and paper is what will get us out of it. It is the raw creativity that goes in that paper, whether it's coming up with a business plan for a product that changes the world, or somebody opening centers of education, such as Veronica and Monty opening around the country, or someone that decides to look at the court in a sovereign perspective and go, I'm going to start picking you apart with all the mistakes that you have made over the many millennia.
Yes, the pen is mightier than the sword. What you write is there in history forever. The sword is momentary, does a lot of damage. But believe me, the sword never... What did it ever achieve?
Bloodshed.
Exactly.
False
Destroying.
hope.
Exactly. And all the total nonsense that's talked before they go into war. I sometimes wonder how they can stand in front of the public and expect them to believe them.
Well, war cannot exist without the financing of the bankers.
Exactly.
So when we see how intertwined war and bankers are, we go to our history to go World War II. We know what's written of the history that the Ford Motor Company was giving Germans engines and airplanes as we were funding both sides. as was
Yes.
London and Germany and
Yes.
Moscow and Japan. They were all funding both sides.
Hmm. It was a game.
A game of destruction and construction.
Exactly. Exactly. It was a game to get to where they are today.
Dumbed down to the point where we don't look at our own laws, dumbed down where we don't look at our medical industry, dumbed down we don't look at our religions and question them why everything is external and not internal and not love-based.
I know. I was amazed at what came up in Michael Tessarian's. I
Interview.
sent it to you, the interview
Yep.
yesterday. The Order of the Black Sun. Oh
Very
my
powerful.
God. It was amazing. You talk about the medical industry. People who have not been vaccinated
Don't
don't
get
get
cancer.
cancer. For God's sake, what's that telling you? Only those vaccinated people get cancer. So
It
the
just,
doctors you go to for your vaccinations are the ones you go back to when you produce the cancer.
there you go. There you are
Oh,
stuck in the never-ending industry of the medicine, making you sick, making you better, never preventing you from ever being sick.
that's right. The whole thing is so corrupt
hmm
from beginning to end. No matter what you look at in our world today, be it religion, politics, pharmaceuticals, the whole thing is totally corrupt.
It's rigged at all
Yes,
levels,
yes.
and
I just,
we are the cattle.
oh my God, yes,
The
yes,
one thing the cattle has advantage over the ranchers is called the stampede.
yes,
When we act in force and in numbers, we can create great change. The prohibition movement of the 1900s here was changed. There was 10 years of prohibition, and 80,000 people before the internet changed prohibition, got constitutional reform, and got what was a law that was outlawing alcohol back to being normal, because the amount of crime that had come from that one little law was destroying the whole country.
yes.
There are numerous examples of laws throughout the world that individuals can now look at and go, in this information age, I don't need 80,000. I need 3 or 4 or 5,000.
Yes.
And if this group and that group and this group come to work together, there are 100,000.
There's, believe me, the numbers are there because people are waking up.
Mhm.
People are not they're not being sheep anymore.
That's right. They're waking up to the world of lies and
Yes,
not going, bah, I believe, bah, I believe. They're
I
going,
know.
what the heck is this? Everything is a
Yes,
lie. Everything is a fraud.
yes,
Everything is a scam. There's Nigerian princes around every corner. Everything is handing me a contract to say that all the money that I owe them with interest on top of it.
I know. It's time to wake up, and they've got to start doing it. We haven't got time to stay in our little boxes anymore.
That's right.
We
We've got to get out of the
cannot.
box.
Yes, and come forward and be brave, because we have the numbers. They can't force all of us. They are so few, the people who control our world. And they cannot do it without our cooperation.
Our tacit consent.
Yes, yes. And every time we do nothing, we're giving them permission to carry on just as they wish.
To carry on with their GMO corn, to carry
Yes,
on with their murderous vaccination programs, to carry
yes,
on with weather altercation and HARP, and to carry on with endless wars, to carry on with debt as the only way to
yes,
survive.
yes. Because they use it to create fear. Everybody is worried about getting into debt.
hmm
Well, that's why it was created in the first place. The bankers planned it all. Keep them in debt, keep them worried, keep them down. never allow them to rise above the debt.
Because if they rise above the debt, they will see the Nigerian princes for what they are.
Yes, yes. It's interesting the number of emails I'm getting from so many different countries. And people saying, why didn't I see this before?
Mm-hmm.
Why has it taken me so long? And it's wonderful that they are waking up now. And the thing is, they tell other people. Once
Mm-hmm.
one wakes up, he wakes up so many more.
That's right.
And we must not be frightened of talking about it, because it's through talking about it that we increase our numbers.
Exactly. And by talking about and increasing our numbers, we get a chance to tell our audience that we can predict what's going to happen in propaganda news, not because we're psychic. It's because we know the propaganda news.
Yes,
So from an American propaganda news perspective, what's going to happen is these riots that are going on in Ferguson are going to slowly fade out as they're going to attempt to promote ISIS and the trade gap in oil there. They're going to see Iran working together with who? Britain, to make sure that Iraq doesn't break into three states. And then you're going to try to see a four-state solution over there. Al-Maliki has just left. Now, for all that to happen, ISIS has to go into Jordan. So that is my propaganda prediction, that you're going to see a raise and raise and raise against ISIS, and you're going to see the American and British government want to make strikes inside Syria. That is
yes.
what you're going to see in the news. And
I
that's
know.
not me being a psychic. That's me just knowing that right now the only game plan that they have is they need war, otherwise the economy topples over. When the machine is in war, they can create contracts for future money. When they are not in war, they cannot create contracts for future money. Why? Because there are debts of gold that are owed to hundreds of different families who are gold holding families that basically has a contract that says as long as you're at war, you don't have to repay the gold. That's why there are none of these funds coming out, Nasera and all of those others. They have no money until America is not at war and paying back a debt. That includes Britain, that includes France. Now, France is going into BRICS, so that means it's going to attempt to repatriate its gold from who? Russia, Britain, America. If France tries to repatriate its gold, the petrodollar will be in question. This is why Ukraine happened on top of all the sacred geometry buildings and infrastructure that are all spread throughout the Crimea region. If they build a petrodollar tunnel, I'm sorry, not tunnel, pipeline through that area, that means Russia will be able to subvert the petrodollar and have everything gold backed.
Well, something's got to change, and it's got to change quickly, because people are not prepared to put up with this anymore.
That's right.
We, I, in my centers, what I'm hoping to do is bring in free energy. You can drive your cars on water.
Mm-hmm.
I have the people ready to work with me. This is why the center in Ireland is so important to me, because I want to bring all this information out into the open.
Mm-hmm. Now,
And this is it.
why don't you
Sorry.
tell people about your campaign so people that are new to the audience, how much money you've raised and how much you want to raise so that you can open the center?
Well, I paid the deposit.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God. So all I need now is the rest of the money. And I have the people ready, waiting to work with me. And everything will go out into the internet. I will release all the information as it comes in. We want people to have free energy. And the technology is there. It's just been kept from us. Well, why should we struggle to pay our energy bills when we don't need to? We have to learn that the old ways will not last much longer. I believe that the downfall will start in October. Now, look at who controls the energy, the food, everything. When that falls, we have to be prepared. And we have to start getting ready now. Because people are stockpiling food. Yes, and so they should. But you can't stockpile energy. So you have to be prepared to produce it. Now, I'm no technician, but I have people who are and who are ready to do this. When the food goes, we have to turn to hydroponics. It is an easy way to grow food, and it is good food, pure, wholesome food. We have to be prepared for that also. We can't just sit back and wait for everything to collapse.
No, we can't. And to do that would mean you give your tacit consent for it to collapse and to have
Yeah,
chaos which they are going to create order out of, an
that's
order
right.
of destruction, an order of entropy, which we do not want. What we want is a free and open society. And for that to happen is that during this time where they're trying to cover up the collapses, where we get out there and write letters, and we get out there and march, and we create change. Now, when it comes to free energy, there are a number of systems out there that are functionable, but they require maintenance. And there are going to need to be people that know how to do maintenance on these machines.
Yes,
And there's
yes.
going to need a way to exchange money between these. This is what a revaluation of currency is about. And as I've said many, many times, there can be no revaluation of currency until the bankers and the fraudsters are taken care of. So what they're going to try to do is continue this fraud. And
Yes,
for there to be even to be a collapse, that means they have to trigger it. Now
yes,
that there's a BRICS nation, there can't be a unilateral trigger of a global collapse. There are gold-backed accounts that are in existence within the BRICS that can allow a repatriation of the original value of gold. And if gold revalues to what? $200 an ounce? How does this world change? Because if gold revalues, that means the petrodollar rebalances to less than $10 a barrel.
well, the banks are definitely going.
Well,
They
they're the
have to
ones
go.
they're the ones that are manipulating the precious metal
I know,
industries,
I know.
silver, cadmium, titanium, and all the other precious metals that are required to build what? Countries, to build
Yes.
infrastructure, to build technology, to build roads and bridges, to build all of those other things that we love to have in our society.
I know, but we will learn to do it ourselves.
Absolutely. We'll tear up the asphalt pavement and the pollution, and we'll put down biological structures that benefit the environment.
Yes.
But until that destruction comes, and you see it's something that happening in October, I see a little different.
Yeah.
What I see is between now and October, the heads of the soul families who know that destruction and change is manifested by the tacit consent of the people, not the actual consent, the tacit consent.
Yes.
And we can change this by informing people of what tacit consent means. When we look at the American media and we look at these riots that are in Ferguson, we realize there's agent provocateurs inside the audience. At the same time, the corporate media is segregated from the rest of the protesters. So the corporate media only gets one perception of what's going on there. And there are hundreds of independent news agencies that are all throughout there that are showing the military, they're showing them using the tear gas, and now they're sending private mercenaries. Why? Because there was an organization in St. Louis that supplied the military with anti-riot techniques. So they've trained a few hundred people to go in as not agents, as not police officers, to take care of a crowd of people. Those are mercenaries. That's no different than what the Egyptians did when they ran in a bunch of camels and 10,000, a group of 10,000 people to try to disperse them.
I know our governments are not working for us.
No, they're
And it's
working for
about
themselves.
time we woke up to that. They would not be putting fluoride in our water or vaccinating us if they were there for our benefit.
Exactly. You know, people wonder what it is that they can do beyond a meditation. Well, that's a big choice to think what can you do as an individual other than listening to a show and sharing this information and making sure that we get 10 or 20 or 30,000 views on this video because we're sharing the awakening here, people. But we need more and more leaders to step up to say, well, what is there something that we can do? One of the shows that I'm doing with New Earth Nation and Rebecca Cope is trying to put the International Tribunal of Natural Justice down, where we can begin to hold the corrupt courts accountable. And this is a sovereign movement, not the sovereigns from the Hicks in the backwoods that they're trying to make us be, but people who are learned and educated in the Constitution or educated in the laws of different countries, and that constitutional authority does still have a play here in our society. Our whole world runs off of paper and the faith and good faith and credit that we put in paper. When we remove our good faith and credit from paper, we make a big impact into a system that only operates on paper that feeds a digital system.
The laws that are being brought in now really need to be taken seriously and discussed, because every day laws are brought in that we don't know about because they're not publicized.
They're called
And
private laws that are approved by
yes,
private people that affect everyone in the world.
that's right. That's right. And they're happening in every country. It isn't just the UK and the US.
It's all every country.
They're all part of the big scheme.
There are 253 corporate states in our world.
Yeah.
That tells you how big it is. They're all corporate. They all follow the same model.
That's right. And we're told, oh my goodness, they're there to look after us. Well, my God, that is not true. And we have to take responsibility for ourselves. Wake up. Look at what's really happening. Andrew is fantastic at opening our eyes to our history and to the reality of our situation. And I really thank him. I am so grateful to him for doing these programs because they're helping so many people to wake up.
Yeah. And I hear with absolute smile on my face every time I come to do a show with Veronica. Why? Because I know she gets it at every level. I know. And with that knowingness, we go forward into every show trying to help every single one that's out there to help others awaken. Yeah. So that not only can we just share this message, but the previous 7 shows that we've done, which you can just go to the YouTube channel here, Galactic Historian, or you can go to Montague Keen website and you can see them there also. We do this for the people, but as individuals, we each have a life. We each step up with our programs, our concepts, and we want to help other people who have concepts and plans to begin to submit them with structure so that we as fourth dimensional people can create fourth dimensional business plans the third dimensional business mind can understand. That is what Veronica's centers are and Montague's centers. That's what the New Earth Nation centers are. A way to take a look and say we can have a no-interest economy.
Yes.
You take interest out of the banker's economy, the world goes back to 400 years ago where
Wouldn't
we
that
didn't
be
need
wonderful?
interest.
That's right. Because interest has crippled every country.
Absolutely every country. For every American Treasury note or Federal Reserve dollar that is made, they charge us 7 cents on it. 7%. That means we can never get out of debt from the central banks, from the money printing point.
Yes. And who owns them?
Private families.
Exactly. They're holding humanity to ransom.
The public bankers, those central bankers. So something people can begin to do is look how you can form your own private bank and do ledger-to-ledger transfers amongst each other. It's been done before. Our ancestors have done it, ledger to
Yeah.
ledger.
The Federal Reserve happened in 1913.
There you go.
What happened before then?
That was before telephones. That was before everyone had
Yes,
telephones and indoor plumbing.
yes, yes, yes. But we can still have those advantages, but restructure how we see money and how we deal with it. And never, ever again allow certain families to rule our world through banking.
That's right. We got to come educated enough to be our own private banks.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? Managing our own labor, our own value, because we are the value.
Yes. But you're told through schools, the education has been dumbed down to such a degree. You're
Mm-hmm.
told, you'll never amount to anything. You're nobody. What can you do? Who'd listen to you? And so you begin to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But you are a sovereign being.
Mm-hmm. You are
And
not a slave being. You are a sovereign being.
that's right. And you've got to wake up to it.
Let's
Know
talk
who
about
you are.
waking. Let's talk about waking up.
Yes. Waking up to reality of the situation we're in. You're brilliant at this, Andrew.
Waking up is coming to an acknowledgement that you've been giving away your power to the world for a long time. And when you wake up, you're realizing that your government's a fraud, your money's a
Yes.
fraud, your consumerism and materialism is a fraud, that the propaganda news that you've been consuming for years and years and years has never been telling you the truth and has been giving you a very biased opinion on how the world works. And when we begin to look at those things and those social structures that they've created, and an awake person has to choose, can I honestly go and work in this thing? Can I honestly be a part of something that has never in my good intention there? And then you choose to go back to sleep or stay awake. And when those that choose to stay awake have to make choices every day, how do I find balance in myself in a world of fraud? People turn to the radio shows such as this and many of the other truth movements, and they become followers or they become educated so that they can help and train other people to stay awakened, to not give in to the system, to not give your tacit consent away, but to stand in the seat of your heart and your power and say, I know love. I do not know enslavement. I do not have to be a corporate slave that says to do this 9 to 5 job. I am my own being, my own source, my own power, my own faith, my own central sun. And with that, become your own court of record and let your DNA memories be your life experience, be your own mental value, so that your intellectual value and your heart value is recognized by millions of others. That's the nature of our species, heart recognition. We can throw away the cell phones and the computers so that they don't dominate our life, but still stay in connection through technology by sharing our hearts, our philosophies, our understandings. Being awake means you are not just a pontificating philosopher, but a person of action and choice, and understands that tacit consent gives the system power over and over again.
Can I suggest that people start with the revocations? Because when you start doing those revocations, you realize for the first time just how controlled we are.
Yeah, how controlled
And
we
the more you do the revocations, the more you release yourself from that stranglehold and you become free in your thinking and your person.
are. Mm-hmm. And
Those
what?
revocations are so very, very important to waking up.
Right? They show you what the system is.
Yes, they open your eyes and they open your heart.
Hmm. And they allow you to understand where tacit consent is being offered to you all the time,
That's right.
every single day.
That's right. I advise everyone to do the revocations as often as you can. Even if you just choose one section each day.
Hmm. There are
And once
five.
you start,
There are five you can choose from, and you can go to
yeah,
galactichistorian.com and look under the products or the resources button, and you'll see spiritual contract removal, and it's free for everyone. There's one for the divine feminine, divine masculine, government, banking, and media. And each one in its own right is very, very powerful. For people that have never read them before, my advice to you is to read them out loud. Start with the divine feminine and work backwards. There is a reason why, if you've never read them before, you got to start at what created you in this world. You came in through the birth of a womb from a mother. Okay? And then when you go to the man, you are confronting citizenship. You're confronting spirituality as both a man and a woman. Then you move into government, banking, and media. And people can read them in any way that they want, but my recommendation is read it out loud. It's so vitally important that your own voice is heard by your own soul that's incarnating in your body when it's talking about contractual agreements with other spiritual energies.
Andrew, I read those revocations on the hill of Tara,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody absolutely, oh, the stillness there.
Mm-hmm.
And people just loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And they really opened their hearts to that. And I did the same at Ishnok. And when you do things like this in powerful places, my God, they take on another energy. It is wonderful. And I can't wait to do it with you and all the people who will be there at Tara and Ishnok when we go over the end of September.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to that. And if people want to experience what it is, what you can do as a group out there is formulate a thing called a flash mob. Formulate
Yes.
in your own local areas. Pick one of the contract revocations, go in front of a news station or a bank or a government building and revoke the contracts in front of them out loud in a flash mob format. You'd be surprised how much attention you get. People have been doing this with the contract revocation since I put them out last year, and they are having massive spiritual awakenings when they do it.
That's
Why?
right.
Because they are confronting the fear of their soul. When they're looking at that sacred geometry building, object, structure, or infrastructure, and they're telling it, no, you have no power over me. I am taking all of my energy back, and it is remaining in my sovereign soul, and you have no access to it. I do not agree to your ancestral karma. I do not agree to your system of debt. I do not agree to domination and control. I do not agree to my kundalini being robbed and vaccinations being given into me so I can never see my true human potential.
The power of those revocations. My God, I want everyone to experience it because it releases you.
Absolutely, it releases you.
The chains just drop away
And when
and
the
you feel
chains drop
free.
away, what happens? We are free.
That's
We are
right.
free.
Yes. You know, I'm sick and tired of people saying, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't. And I say, who says so?
Who says so?
Yeah.
Who's the limitation there? Who's
Yes.
creating that limitation?
Yeah. I
We
know.
must live in a world of no limitations. And so many people have a tough time getting out of that limited concept into no limitations. Why?
That's
Because
right.
there are so many cultural taboos that stop them from free thinking.
Well, religion being the worst.
Hmm.
My God. The Vatican has ensured that people live in fear, and once you step away from it and you feel free and you learn love instead of fear and you look with the eyes of love, you
Yeah,
see everything differently.
that's right. In the eyes of love, you discover everything.
Yes, that's right. And nobody talks about love these days. Not in its true sense, anyway.
Well, I think they've lost what it was.
Yeah, I
They've
know.
lost what it was. And because they lost it, to get love back means they must go, why have I attached strings to love?
Yes.
And that's what so many people are facing in their awakening is they want to know love, but what
That's
they
right.
know is love with strings attached.
Yes, yes.
And we cannot be beings with love with strings attached. It's just against our nature.
I know. I learned what true love was for the first time in my life with Monty. And it was such an awakening for me. And I learned more about love in my marriage with Monty.
How did you meet Monty?
How did I? Oh my God. Um, I used to live in Highgate, in a wonderful place in London, in Highgate. And I used to give dinner parties every week and invite my neighbors in. And we would discuss the paranormal one week and alternative medicine the next week, my two great interests. And we invited Rupert Sheldrake. And Rupert said he couldn't make it, but we should invite Montague Keane in his place. So we did. He accepted. And I was in the kitchen and somebody let him in. So I actually met him in my living room. And I was sitting next to him at dinner. And I thought, my God, what an interesting man. And he thoroughly enjoyed the evening and asked if he could come again. So we said yes. And then he ended up joining the alternative medicine group as well because he became interested in that. And Monty was ill at the time. And I took him to Holland to my friend Robert's clinic for chelation therapy and, helped to get him away from the drug-based medicines and into alternative medicine.
Mhm.
And that's how I met Monty, in my living room.
Ah,
And oh my God, if anybody had told me then that one day I would marry him, I would not have believed them.
how many years ago was that?
Oh God, you see, people always ask me how long we were married, but we were living together. We were living either in my place in Highgate or at his farm in Suffolk. So we ended up getting married and buying this place I live in now.
Hmm?
But I knew happiness that I didn't know was possible. When you truly love another human being, my God, it changes everything.
Yeah, it does. You have
It,
something to care about in the world that you can't give tacit consent away for someone else to have control over it because your love is so much.
oh dear God. And yet I thought I knew about love, but I didn't. And you see, this is the thing. We have the Hollywood version of love,
Hmm.
and that's quite different.
It's false love.
Totally.
That's love with
And it
strings attached.
deliberately to confuse us. They don't want us to love. They don't want us to live in harmony. They want us to be afraid and worried and living in
Big,
fear.
bigoted.
Yeah, yeah. It's, you know, I knew Monty for about 3 months, and he then said to me, uh, we've been invited to a party at my niece's house. And I said, okay. And he said, do you realize that I was born into an Orthodox Jewish family? Does it matter? And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, should it? And he said, you've answered me. I said, thank
Exactly.
you.
Because then you knew it was love at that point.
Oh, yes. Nothing.
The cultural taboos that different cultures face is what prevent people from finding their true love out there. Whether you're a
Exactly.
Hindu Indian and a Spanish person from Basque, you can find love. Why? Because that's what we're meant to do, to make
Yes.
known the unknown, to be out there and be adventurers in this world and not be debtor slaves.
I know. It opens up a whole new way of life, a whole new way of thinking, of living. If you have love in your life, you have everything.
That's right.
You don't want for anything more. You've got it all.
Hmm.
And that's something that's missing in our world today.
Yeah,
Everybody's striving for material things.
right. People
Material,
learning people learning to love themselves without strings attached.
exactly.
I know so many young people out there that they really the most amount of self-love they get is when they're getting their new cell phone that's
That's right.
$400 or getting
Mm.
something that completes their materialistic gain into some esoteric understanding of a video game. And I use that word esoteric understanding because video games are now becoming a religion for children.
Yeah. I don't like the way children's minds are being manipulated.
Yeah,
I really don't. It's so wrong. I was fortunate enough to grow up in Ireland, and I used to go out of the house, through a field, down to a beautiful river, trees and nature and everything. Now children are brought up in high-rise flats. They never see trees.
that's right.
They don't interact with nature. They are totally deprived. And that's
Na-
all deliberately done.
nature deprived.
That's right.
When you
I,
have enough
it's,
mercury in your body, you can't see your connection to the earth.
I know.
The strongest neural toxin out there known.
Yeah. You don't belong because you don't know that you don't know how to belong.
That's right. You're disassociated.
That's right. That's right. And it's so sad.
And that's the nature of the system of domination and control, to
That's right.
disassociate you from your natural connection to the planet. And
Yes.
once you're disassociated, disconnected, you're reconnected into materialism and consumerism.
That's right.
And then you're once again lost into capitalism,
Yeah.
thinking that you're going to go out and make something for yourself, but ultimately be taken by the tax man.
Exactly. People kill themselves working. But
Hmm.
who's gaining?
No one.
Yeah. It's it's really sad the way people are reduced to existing.
Hmm.
They're not living. Interestingly, in Ireland, you do see some people who are actually living. They haven't given in entirely to this system.
That's right. They figured out how a way to niche something,
Yeah,
not something out of this harsh reality, and say I can make something special.
yeah,
And there are communities around the country, around the world, like New Earth Nation and the community Veronica is putting together, that adhere to these new concepts to be fourth
yes,
dimensional people at all times, in all ways, in all relations, in all concepts. But these organizations need more and more people, more and more volunteers, more and more intellect put into them so that they
yes.
can solve the world's problems as individuals.
I want to help everybody else to wake up and live a life that is completely fulfilled, to know happiness and joy, and to appreciate. You don't need money to walk out into nature.
That's right. You don't need money to have a smile.
No,
No one needs to put a quarter or a shilling in you so you can smile. Too many
I,
smiles are run by the dollar.
that's right. I smile at everyone and I speak to people. If I'm sitting in a train, I speak to people. In a bus, I speak to people. In a shop, I speak to people.
Mhm.
And you know, you might be the only person who speaks to that other person that day.
That day. Exactly.
And it's lovely the way people respond
Mhm.
because they smile back. And they're so surprised that somebody's actually talked to them.
Mhm.
And it's lovely because you're making a connection. And it's very, very important that we connect with each other.
Mhm. Without a connection to our rest of the people that share this unsovereign reality, we cannot be a sovereign reality. So it
That's
means you
right.
got to talk to your neighbors or the person on the bus with you or the train or sharing a taxi from a person that's going roughly to the same place you are.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's one of the reasons I love Ireland. Everybody talks to everybody else there. There are no taboos at all. You know, you're walking along the street, everybody greets you,
Hmm.
and it's lovely. But we've lost the art of communication in England and in America, everywhere.
Interpersonal communication, the art has been lost.
Yeah, I
The
know.
art is now being brought to public stations like Google Hangouts, like radio stations. Why? Because that's the only place we can have these conversations and have enough audience to get feedback, enough
That's right.
audience to make movements that are more than one individual, but thousands of individuals putting their little piece into it, whether it's a one view count or a person that makes a donation or a person that steps forward and says, I can do this next to you and promote everyone, or if it's a person that decides to put together a fourth dimensional business plan that could help change the world on an economic level, and then coming forth and presenting it to the world of people who are ready to hear truth but
Yes,
need time to process what truth is.
yes. I had a lovely email today from somebody in Switzerland, and he said, I want to set up one of your centers here in Switzerland. I'm ready to do it. Tell me what to do. And actually, one from France as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already got the building. It used to be a convent.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants me to see it. And she said, please use it. It's here, it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting these emails every day. So there are people in various countries who are ready to set up centers. And the people I will have in Ireland who are going to instruct us on how to do things and how to go forward will go to these other centers and help them as well. They will be everywhere. I really ask for help. Please, if you can find it in your heart to donate to the one in Ireland, this is the template. This is the one we have to work out how to do things and how to go forward with them, educate people, because everything will be out on the internet. Everything we do will be available to everyone.
So why don't you tell people where they can go to make a donation if they'd like, and how to get a hold of you too?
How to get hold of me? Well, if you just put Veronica Keane into Google, you'll find my website, www.montaguekeen, and you will find the pay button, the PayPal button, or if you want the IBAN, my bank details for the foundation, I'm happy to give it to people who want to donate.
Okay.
And I'm very, very grateful to everyone who has donated. And I'm hoping that more will find it in their hearts to be part of our new adventure into reality.
That's right. And that's the title of this show, Adventures
I
into
know.
Reality. And that title is important because it has to be an adventure. It cannot
It
be a
is.
challenge. It needs to be a smiling adventure.
I know. I know.
There's so many difficult topics that both Veronica and I have to tackle and chew on ourselves and present to an audience so that people can begin to do what? See with their own eyes. Why?
Yes.
Because if you don't see with your eyes what we're trying to present, we're still giving away so much tacit consent to a system that's sold it better than us.
Yeah. I know. I know. We cannot be sheep anymore. We don't want to be. We've outgrown it. We have to now think this is our world, this is our planet. We will decide how it goes forward. We don't want wars anymore. The killing has got to stop. The people who actually rule our world, the ones we don't see, they need the shedding of blood and they need the fear. That's why so many children are murdered. They need the fear that they can create by killing these children,
Mhm,
getting their last breath, and drinking their blood.
mhm. Those are more of those esoteric rituals that are underpin
Yes,
every major government in the world. Every major government has covert factions that practice very negative concepts of domination and control. Not just the Vatican. Every major organization has been infested Why? The only way you can get people who are going to steal from the whole world and scam from the whole world is if you have a massive industry of corrupting people at the child level so that
That's
they
right.
can be brought into these massive banking systems as capitalists who don't care about what you're destroying while you are creating something different to enslave people in debt.
I know, and it's they threaten them then with exposure. They threaten them with all sorts of things if they don't obey.
That's right.
So people get drawn into it without realizing what they're being drawn into because this isn't spoken about.
That's right.
And until we speak publicly about such
Openly.
things, openly, then more people will be drawn into it.
That's right. And brought into corruption and destruction
That's
and
right.
entropy and not have their own free will be a part of this world. They'll be stuck just like debt slaves.
I know. It's I'm never, oh my God, I can never cope with the number of children that they go missing. Well, they don't go missing, they're taken.
Hmm? We want to know about the truth of the missing children of this world.
Yes, yes.
We want to know the truth. Is that enough to get the soccer moms out there to move? Because it's the soccer moms that'll change the world. Why?
Yeah,
Because they're the ones with the minivans
yeah,
that gets people to protests
yes,
to defend their
yes,
children from being what?
yes,
Kidnapped and abused.
yes.
Or worse, trained at your own home through video games to be a warrior so that that child can never have his true love.
I know. Everything is geared to destroying the personality.
That's right. Fracture the personality into soul
That's right.
shards and then
That's
slowly
right.
take over. Divide and conquer. Divide and
Yeah.
conquer.
That has worked for them for years.
Mhm.
Now that we're awake to it, we have to wake everyone else up to it so that they do not give tacit approval to it.
Exactly. We keep talking about tacit consent, tacit approval. People need to look at that at their own heart space. How are you giving away consent every time? Every time you go to a computer program, you are agreeing to a terms of service. Okay? Yes, you have to click, and that's not tacit consent, but you're clicking. But most people don't actually read what's in those documents, do they?
Nope.
Nope. That's tacit consent in action right there.
Yeah,
Because
I
you
know.
didn't read it.
I know. I know. I know. And we should look at what our children are being taught in school.
Absolutely, because if we don't know what they're being taught, we are going to get stabbed in the back by it, by their
That's
belief.
right. That's right. Because it's all been changed. It has been, oh my goodness, little children are being taught things now that they are not ready for, and they should not be ready for. They're making them sexual beings at 5 and 6 years old.
It's
Dear
ridiculous.
God.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous to be at that age learning
Yes,
about sexuality.
I know. I know. Children should come to that sort of knowledge in a home environment
Mhm.
where love is talked about, not sex.
Well, that home environment needs to have parents who are not working 40, 50, 60 hours a week,
Yeah,
two jobs, so
I
that they
know.
can spend time with their children.
That's right. But people don't anymore. They sit them in front of television and then they go off doing other things.
Why? Because they're stuck in a world where they can't even get their own alone time, and
That's
the new
right.
babysitter is the PlayStation and the Xbox.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God, yes.
There's another
I know.
example of tacit consent.
That's right.
I know
That's right.
many, many, many children that have been raised by a computer game. Their whole life understanding is based off of that computer
Yeah,
game.
I know. I know.
And that's
It's so
sad.
sad.
It's
It
sad.
is. It is. It's, nature. They don't go out in nature. They don't. If you say go for a walk, They look at you. What do you mean? Go for
Like
a
you're an
walk.
alien. You're like an alien. Like
Yes.
walk, like to the bus. Walk. I have to do what? Move?
I know. I know. You know, I love trees. I couldn't live anywhere where there weren't trees. And to walk among trees, to walk in a wood, oh my God, to be at one with nature and get the energy from the trees. It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Well, we're nearing the end of the show. So what last conversations do we want to talk about?
Do not give your consent, tacit or otherwise, to war. Please, please say no to war. Not in my name. And
Not
if
on
you're,
my name.
yeah, let the government know you are not willing to give your consent. And without your consent, could they do it?
Nope.
Exactly.
There you go. They need to have troops in those armies. They need to have
Yep.
funding for those armies. They need to have food for those troops. All of those things.
Yeah.
And we are the individual cogs in the wheel of tacit consent that allows this system of domination and control to make an industrial complex and a war-based economy that constantly is recycling our children to become warriors and dead.
That's right.
And for
And
those that
then,
do survive the war, they come back what? Broken.
yeah. And it's the mental damage that's done as well as the physical damage.
Mm-hmm. The
It's
spiritual
not
damage
right.
too.
Yeah, I know. I know. I know.
That spiritual
And
damage is just massive to so many of them.
yes, killing does not come naturally to human beings.
So true. People got to realize that killing does not come natural. That's why they
No.
created these patriot programs to make us
Yes.
think that our national pride, that we could kill
Oh,
for our land,
yes.
kill for Earth. That's just like killing in the name of Jesus. Oxymoron.
It's, oh my goodness. The killing has to stop. No more wars. Now just think of the money that goes into a war.
Mm-hmm.
They always have money for that.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Always. There's never any problem to find money to kill.
That's right.
But when you
Money.
ask,
Money to take other people's money. Because that's what
that's right.
war is about. Money,
I
money,
know.
money.
That's what Monty always said. Follow the money. If you want to know anything, just follow the money.
Just
You'll
follow the
find out.
money. There's
Yeah.
your answer.
Yeah.
You want to know the
Who?
truth? Follow the money.
That's right. Who makes the tanks and the bombs and the guns and everything else?
Mm-hmm. And there's where you'll find your answer.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
we are at the end of the show. If people would like to get a hold of you, they can go to montaguekeen.com. You want to give your email address out too?
It's mkeen, Keen, 7225 at AOL.com.
Okay. And if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can go to thegalactichistorian.com and fill out the contact information, or you can look at some of the various products that we have up. We have just released a special show on the dragons and dragon families, and there's a little 3-minute trailer video up over there, as well as one on the spiritual power of food, and another one which came out in late June called Discovering the Greater Power of You. Please check out those different products and information if you like them. Give us a purchase, and all of that is to make sure that these shows keep going at every level so that we can bring out truth and stop people from doing tacit consent. Thanks a lot, Veronica and Santi in the background. This has been an incredible broadcast, and look forward to us not this coming Friday, but the Friday after that. Veronica will be heading to Tara Hill again.
Yes.
And you're going to be releasing some more energy. So
Oh,
everyone, keep
yes.
keep Veronica in your prayers, and keep an eye on her website and as well as mine for the upcoming information.
It's been wonderful. I've enjoyed it. Thank
Me
you.
too. Take it easy, everyone.